majestic love and authority. Words of power that can never fail. Let their truth prevail over unbelief. Speak, O Lord, and renew our minds. Help us grasp the heights of your plans for us. Truth unchanged from the dawn of time that will echo down through eternity. And by grace we'll stand on your promises, and by faith we'll walk as you walk with us. Speak, O Lord, your church is built, and the earth is filled with your glory. And by grace we'll stand on your promises, and by faith we'll walk as you walk with us. Speak your word till your church is built, and the earth is filled with your glory.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for time this evening. May you be honored in every way, and may your word be clear, Lord. Thank you for the history of your plan that we get the privilege to see. And thank you for telling us where we're going and where we are. I love and praise you. May we honor your Son and you and your Spirit this evening. Amen. We're going to be in Genesis 46. Genesis 46. Okay. And the story here, we're going to catch up with it. Joseph has just revealed himself to his brothers who thought he was a long-lost Jewish brother that was dead. He's a type and picture of Christ. Just like the Jewish people think that their Rabbi Yeshua has been dead for 2,000 years, but he's not. He's alive and well, but he's not ruling in the Promised Land. He's ruling from Egypt. He's out among Gentile territory as Jesus is today. Okay. So his father finds out he's alive. He's going to get ready to bring them all down there. The Pharaoh actually is the one who actually sent for him. And he's going to take care of them down there during the rest of the famine and for some time and years after that. So we pick up at chapter 46. So Israel, who is Jacob, set out with all that he had. And he came to Beersheba. And this is going to be on the way down to Egypt. Beersheba is a well of the oath. Remember, Abraham made a covenant there. Isaac would worship there, etc. And these guys tend to traffic back and forth in several of the same locations here. And he offered up sacrifices to the God of his father Isaac. Okay, so he's back in line again here. And God spoke to Israel in visions of the night. And he said, Jacob, Jacob. And he said, here I am. It seems strange to see both of his names here, Isaac and Jacob, together. Here I am. He said, I am God, the God of your father. Okay, do not be afraid to go down to Egypt, because I'm going to make you into a great nation there. Something he's not going to do here. It'll take Egypt to accomplish this and accomplish what God wants him to do here. Okay, and let me tell you something. In Psalm 105, it talks about Joseph, and he says, he took Joseph down, he put him in irons, and he was purifying him. Literally, the word for purity is normally the word to put you in the flames. It matches, right? It's like silver and gold and things like that. You purify it, you put it in that flame, and all of a sudden the impurities come out of it. And by the time you're done, I don't know about gold, but with silver, you can see an exact representation. It's like a mirror. You can see yourself in it, right? And that's what he was doing to Joseph. So we saw him sold by his brother. There's the flames, right? We're going to kill him. They're your flames. He's hauled down and he's a slave. There's the flames. He gets accused of rape. There are the flames. He gets put into a prison. There are the flames, right? And when he was ready, he was 30 years of age, God took him and put him over all of Egypt and the rest of the world at that time. Took a long time because he wasn't ready. He just flat out wasn't ready, okay? And let me tell you, it's amazing how many men, you look at their biographies, God never used them until late in their lives, when they got older. I think it's just when they were ready. And it's different for different men. Okay. Now watch what he says here. The great nation will happen down there in Egypt. I will go down with you to Egypt. Okay, and I will also surely bring you up again. Let me ask you something. God's going to go down there with him, and God's going to bring them up again. Who brought them up again? Moses. Remember, and he says, I have made you God to Pharaoh. Moses is in fact a type of Christ. He is the God-man. Okay, and he will be down there, and he will bring them out. And Joseph will close your eyes. Kind of a vivid description, because when men and women pass away from this world, they do so with their eyes open. Okay? And so you push their eyes down. Sometimes, years ago, they used to put pennies and things like that. Then Jacob arose from Beersheba, the well of the oath, and the sons of Israel, meaning those who wrestle with God, and one who wrestled with God, they carried their father Jacob and their little ones and their wives in the wagon which Pharaoh had sent to carry him. Now Jacob normally would walk, but he's getting too old for that. And they took their livestock and their property, which they had acquired in the land of Canaan. They came to Egypt, Jacob and all of his descendants with him. His sons, his grandsons with him, his daughters and his granddaughters, and his descendants he brought with him to Egypt. So they're all going down there. Wagons to carry this. As I said, it's quite an entourage that they'd be moving down here together. By the way, when he says he took his little ones too. You'll like this in Hebrew. The Hebrew word for little kids is the word for tripping. Little trippers. Okay, I think it's a very vivid description. You know, I had a friend of mine. He had a little boy and a little girl, and they would sit there. He said, his little boy in particular, he spills his drink every time. So finally he said, I got this down. He put a little circle right there on the table, right in the front. He says, now every time you take a drink and you put your milk back, put your milk right on that circle. And sure enough, he put it on the circle. Next time he reached for it, he bumped it and tucked it anyway. It's just the age of life. It's what you do. You spill stuff. You're messy. You're a toddler. You're a tripper. It's what you do. Okay. Nothing for it but time. Nothing for it but time. All right, verse 8. Now these are the names of the sons of Israel, Jacob and his sons, okay, who went down into Egypt. Now I'm going to give you the meaning of some of these names. Sometimes it doesn't mean, there's not a lot here, but sometimes you get a little bit of a hint at what's going on as they name their children, okay? Now Jacob, you know, his name means, it's a word for your heel, right? The heel on your foot. Because he had his brother by the heel when he was born, okay? And it came to carry the idea of like a healer, like a cow dog grabs a heel, etc. So, as they're going down. Now, Reuben, he is in fact the firstborn. All right, it says, it means, behold a son. Because Leah gave him that name, behold a son, Jacob will be glad, okay? And his sons who went down to Egypt of Reuben's, Jacob's firstborn. By the way, it tells us later on, he took the firstborn from him and gave it to Joseph and his boys. Okay, so that's what happened with him. He's listed the firstborn, even though he is in fact not going to be. Hanok, okay, Hanok means to initiate something or train by nearing somebody in. And where am I at here? Okay, Palu is a distinguished. Hezron is an enclosed yard. Carmi means a gardener. Okay, why would you name your child a gardener? I have no idea. Maybe that's where he was born. Who knows? Okay. All right. Now, the sons of Reuben, Hanok, Palau, Hezron, and Carmi. The sons of Simeon are Jemuel and Jamim and Ohav and Yakin and Zohar and Saul, the son of a Canaanite woman. So Simeon, it means to hear. The idea is to respond in obedience to what you hear. Jemuel means the day of God. Yamin means the right hand, which is a place of prominence. Ahav is number one in Hebrew, which means one or unity. Yakin, he will establish, and Zohar means dazzling, somebody who's very, very bright. Okay. Now the sons of Levi, and Levi means to unite, are Gershon, Kohath, Merari. Okay. Gershon is a refugee. Kohath is to ally yourself with unity, and Merari is bitterness. Why would you name a baby bitterness? Unless something was happening at that time that gave it those reasons to do that. Okay. All right. Verse 12. The sons of Judah means praise. and Onan and Shelah and Perez and Zerah. But and Onan died in the land of Canaan, and the sons of Perez were Hezron and Hamul. Okay, Judah means praise. Means a guarded city. Onan means to be strong. Shelah means requested, like a petition for a request or a loan. Perez, to break out or breach. And Zerah means to rise up or appear. Now, the sons of Issachar, okay, were Tola and Puvah and Yob and Shimron. Okay, before the sons of Perez, by the way, is Hezron. That's a courtyard. Hamul is pitied. Issachar means a reward. Tola means describes somebody who devours things. My guess is a kid with a voracious appetite. Puvah means a puff or a blast of air. Okay, Yob means he will return, and Shimron is a guardianship. Okay, verse 14. And the sons of Zebulun are Sered and Elon and Jaleel. Okay, Zebulun means habitation or dwelling. Sered is to tremble. Elon is a grove of strong trees. And Jaleel means to wait for God. Verse 15. So the sons of Leah, whom she bore to Jacob, in Paddan Aram. Remember, Rachel and Leah were the two wives. Bilhah and Zilpah were the concubines. Okay, they bore to Jacob in Paddan Aram with the daughter of Dinah, means judgment. All his sons and his daughters numbered were 33. And the sons of Gad means a fortune or a troop. Okay, were Zephion and Hagi and Shuni and Esbon, Eri and Radi and Areli. Zephion is a watchtower, Hagi is a feast, and Shuni is rest or quiet. And once we get through these names, we'll fly. Okay, Esbon means variegated color. I don't know if this kid was different colors when he was born. Okay, Eri, to wake up. Arodi means refuge from those who, or for the people who roam, and Areli means to be valiant. Okay, 17. The sons of Asher. Now, Asher means blessed or prospering. Okay, are Ima, meaning the right hand, Imna, and Ishva means he will make level. Ishvi also means he will make level, just different forms. Okay, Beriah means with trouble. Something bad was done. I don't know if it's the birth or something besides that. And their sister Sarah means to overflow. Sons of Beriah were Heber and Malkiel. And Heber means joined or fellowship. Malkiel means my king is God, or the kings of God. 18. These are the sons of Zilpah, whom Laban gave to his daughter Leah, and she bore to Jacob these 16 persons. Now, do you remember, a concubine is not a wife. It's not a total slave, but similar. Okay, but 2 wives, 2 concubines, etc., and all these kids. Okay. Verse 19. And the sons of Jacob were Rachel and Joseph, Joseph and Benjamin. Okay? Now Joseph means to add, have an addition, etc. And Benjamin means the son of my right hand, or the son of favor. Son of favor. All right. Now, to Joseph, in the land of Egypt was born Manasseh, means God, he has made me forget, and Ephraim, Ayim is a dual, twice fruitful, whom Asenath, dedicated to Nath, is what that means, the daughter of Potipharah, who was the priest of On, bore to him. And the sons of Benjamin, these, when you say the right hand, sit here at my right hand to make your enemies your footstool. This is Benjamin's name. I think after Joseph, he gave him, I don't know why he did this, but he gave Joseph preeminence over the other boys, and then later on it seems to do the same thing with Benjamin. Okay, making it kind of a favorite child. Okay, now the sons of Benjamin were Bela, means sorrow, and Becher, which means to burst out, as in a firstborn or early fruit. Ashbel means flowing. Gera means grain. And Neman means pleasant. Ehi means a brother. Okay. And Rosh is the Hebrew word for the head or the top. Okay. And Mupim means wavings, and Hupim means a protector. And there's also Ard, it means a wanderer. I don't know if the kids kept running off or what it is. Okay, we get the idea here. Now these are the sons of Rachel, whom were born to Jacob, and there were 14 persons in all. And the sons of Dan, remember Dan means judgment, okay, were Hushim, that means one who's in a hurry. Okay. By the way, you guys know by now, some of these could be describing the character of these little kids, right? A little voracious eater, right? Very different colored, right? Patches of whatever on the child, etc. We don't know a lot about these backgrounds, but nevertheless, it certainly could be that way. Now, the sons of Naphtali. Naphtali means strong wrestling, because I wrestled with my sister, if you remember the story. Okay, and Jaziel, God will allot. And Guni means protector or protected. Okay, and Jezer means suppress, and Shalem means wholeness. Shalem is a form of the word shalom for wholeness. Okay, now these are the sons of Bilhah, whom Laban gave to, who is a daughter Rachel. Okay, and she bore these to Jacob, and there were 7 persons in all. All the persons belonging to Jacob, he came down to Egypt, and his direct descendants, and including the wives of Jacob's sons. There were 66 persons in all. 66 persons. Now the total is 70 here, but and Onan died back in Canaan, and Manasseh and Ephraim were already in Egypt. Okay? And the sons of Joseph who were born to him in Egypt were 2. All the persons of the house of Jacob who bore in Egypt were a total of 70. Now they're going to go down to 70, and they're going to come out several million. It's incredible, right? And they're going to do all that in about 400 years or so. So when they come out, they're just this huge crowd, okay? Now remember, in those days, when you get to the book of Egypt, it says that they were having kids like crazy. Nation, and that God's hand was in that. And the more they were oppressed, the more kids they had. It was incredible, right? So don't think like America, where 2 kids is the perfect number or something like that. You go back in America in the mid-1800s, people were having lots of kids, 12, 14, 16 kids. It's incredible, kind of thing. Picture that, and all of a sudden this thing gets taken off and moving right along, because the hand of God's blessing was upon them. And back in those days, kids were considered a blessing. Okay. By the way, if you're a farmer, a kid's not a burden. Okay. Well, by the time he's 4, he's getting eggs, kind of thing. Kids are raised, making bread and cooking and doing. They help out with the can. They're doing everything. Not to mention, you can have a full basketball team. Okay. You got enough of them. By the way, verse 27. He's been 70 here. Now, if you take Jacob and Joseph and Manasseh and Ephraim. Okay, you can take that from that and have 66. There are 75 mentioned in Acts chapter 7, verse 14. That includes an additional 5 people here, born in the land, which were added by the Septuagint text. This is the Greek translation of the Old Testament made in 200 BC. Okay? In chapter 46, 8 through 27, they have 5 names included, 2 sons of Manasseh and the 2 sons of Ephraim. Okay, and the grandsons of the latter that were in there. Okay. By the way, in translation, those early translations, it's not uncommon for them to fill in a blank if they believe that there's a blank there. Okay, it's a little bit different than what we're used to in our translations. Okay. All right, so he sent Judah before him to Joseph to point out the way, literally point out the flow before him to Goshen. Okay, and they came to the land of Goshen. Goshen means a mound of earth, or literally on a mountain, so they're a little high area. Good land. Okay. And Joseph prepared the chariot, and he went to Goshen to meet his father Israel. And as soon as he appeared before him, he fell on his neck, and he wept on his neck for a long, long time. He hasn't seen his father in quite some time, and he was convinced that he was in fact dead. Verse 30, Israel said to Joseph, "Now let me die, since I have seen your face, that you are still alive." What an incredible thing that must have been. Joseph says to his brothers and to his father's household, "I'm going to go up and tell Pharaoh." Remember, Pharaoh means the house. That PH is the word Egyptian for the. Aro is a house, the house. You'll see in Exodus where Moses plays off his name house and says, that is the house of bondage. That's what it was. And that's and Egypt itself, and Egypt is a modern word. The Hebrew text is Mitzrayim, means double oppression, double slavery. Okay, in the Bible, every man is a slave, but you can be a slave twice. So there's a slavery of your body, but Jesus said if you're committing sin, you're a slave of sin. Okay? Or you wouldn't be committing it, right? So, you guys ever smoked and tried to quit smoking? I used to quit smoking all the time. Many years ago. You understand? You get the idea, all right? And then one day somebody gave me a handful of chaw, and I'd never had chew in my mouth. And that was the most addicting thing I'd ever participated in my life. It was incredibly addicting because you walked around spitting all day. And when I became a Christian, I quit doing all that kind of stuff. But spitting is a habit that just hangs on. It's just something, it becomes part of you. Anyway, you get the idea. All right, now. And Joseph said to his brothers and to his father's household, I'm going to go up and tell Pharaoh, and I will tell him, and say to him, my brothers and my father's household, who are in the land of Canaan, they have come to me. These men are shepherds, for they have been keepers of livestock, and they have brought their flocks and their herds and all that they have. And it's going to come about when Pharaoh calls you and he says, what is your occupation? Now this is going to be really important because they don't like shepherds. The Egyptians despise them, okay? Joseph knows how the court works, and so he's going to go into the king's court here and say, when you come, here's what you're going to do, and here's how you're going to talk. And he's setting these guys up to get it. Put them in the land of Goshen, separate from the Egyptians, which will help avoid conflict, and it also kept them pure, okay? And you will say, your servants have been keepers of livestock from our youth even until now, but we and our fathers, and you may live in the land of Goshen. For every shepherd is loathsome. They hate them to the Egyptians, okay? By the way, how long have men in this world been hating each other? Is it gone now? Oh gosh, no. You guys see all the students at Harvard signing up on, they hate the Jews. I mean, they're very open about it, and they're at Harvard kind of thing. I want them dead. It's like, that's you're crazy kind of thing. But back in World War II, they wanted the Jews to be dead. Okay, and so, by the way, it takes place in every color. Every color of human being has been slaves. Slavery has always been here, okay? When they came to America and found all the American Indians, guess what the Indians were doing with each other? They were robbing each other, killing each other, and enslaving each other, okay? So slavery was alive and well. When they went down to South America, guess what they found? Same thing, slavery alive and well. People just hate. Whoever has the upper hand, I'm a rich man, therefore I can afford to hate you, kind of thing. The poor people can't do that as well. And it's a cruel thing. And you know what could change that? Laws don't change it because governments pass laws upon laws upon laws, and nobody keeps those laws, so they pass more laws. It does not work. And you show me a bunch of people that made Jesus Christ, and I'll show you all the difference in the world. I was a brand new Christian, went down to San Francisco. I did an internship down there. And I was at a church down there that had everything from Samoan and Indians and Mexicans and you name it. They were all there. They're all there. Kind of thing. I was there for a year. I never once heard anybody talk about anybody's color because we came to church and we were there to worship Jesus Christ and focus on Him. That was our focus. Everybody was focused on that. And it was out front. They called themselves the singing church, and they did a lot of singing and we appreciated Samoan music and all kinds of different music. And because when Christ comes into your life and changes you from the inside out, you are truly changed. You are truly changed. No lawmaker can fix that. Kind of a joke if you think about it. These people hate these people. We're going to pass a law that says you can't do that. Well, that's just ridiculous because hatred is in the heart. And Jesus said, if you clean up the heart of a man, the outside will be clean. That's how it's done. 47, okay? Chapter 47. Now, Joseph went in, he told the Pharaoh, and he said, my father and my brothers and their flocks and their herds and all that they have has come out of the land of Canaan. And behold, they are in the land of Goshen. This good land, okay? And he took 5 men from among his brothers and he presented them to the Pharaoh. I like this. In Hebrew it says he carved out 5 guys and literally carved them out. And Pharaoh said to these brothers, what is your occupation? Now notice, he told them, Pharaoh's going to ask you this. He knows that when you come to the Pharaoh's courts, he's got a list of questions, whatever they are, 4 or 5, whatever they are. He's going to ask those things. He says to his brother, "What's your occupation?" So they said to the Pharaoh, "Your servants are shepherds, both we and our fathers." And they said to Pharaoh, "We have come to sojourn in the land, for there is no pasture for your servants, for our flocks. For the famine is severe," or literally it's the word for glory. You've heard about the glory of God? Same word here. Glory means intense, heavy, serious. Okay? In the land of Canaan. Now therefore, please let your servants live in the land of Goshen. Quite the request. Now remember, the Pharaoh knows who these guys are. Joseph is ruling the land. Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Your father and your brothers have come to you. The land of Egypt is before your face. Settle your father and your brothers in the best of the land." Okay? You'll like the Hebrew. It says, "in the goodest of the land." It's bad English, but it's pretty good Hebrew kind of thing. By the way, do you know the whole Old Testament is written with about 1,600 words? That's it. Okay? It really is, it's designed for maybe junior high at tops kind of thing. It's a simple as far as the vocabulary goes. And remember who these guys are. They're all a bunch of slaves when they come out, and they're speaking Hebrew, but they're not educated people. They're just not that educated, okay? And when they did get an education, there wasn't high schools and colleges and those things around in those days here, okay? But you can have the best of the land to them, live in the land of Goshen. And now if you know of any capable men, this is going to be really talented men here, okay? Put them in charge of my livestock. Right? That's their heritage. They did it, and their fathers before them. They probably know something, I think. Very, very true. By the way, it's some people are unaware of the fact that if you go to a university or a college, do you know what life credits are? Okay? You take a class where the work in that class for that semester is to put together all the background of all the things you've done and document it and confirm it. When it's all said and done, a group of professors will look at that and say, "We believe that this is worth so many college credits," right? So if you've been doing things out there, whatever you've been doing, it's worth something. You've learned something, haven't you? Sure you have. And everything does not require a degree to learn. After all, how'd you learn to tie your shoes? Before Velcro. I remember being a little boy and somebody taught me how to tie my shoes. And there are people out there. When I was a young man, I was impressed with how many people out there were multimillionaires with like eighth grade educations, because they didn't back then. When my father was used to have eighth grade graduation. Kind of thing. And people went off and got married. If you didn't get married, you either went to a university or a college or a high school. You didn't get to go through a high school to get to college. You went to one or the other. You didn't do any of those things. Okay, it was quite different. And college wasn't for everybody, and it still isn't even today. Matter of fact, I saw a video this morning. There's a gal. She's graduated from Ivy League. She's $80,000 in debt, and no job. And she was saying that was stupid. I could be driving a brand new Ford kind of thing for that kind of money. And she said, and there's no job, because guess what? By the time I got done, if somebody wants an accountant, are they asking what college you went to learn your accountant? They could care less. Can you keep books or can't you? Right? That's the question. Can you do the books? Right? And a Harvard degree doesn't really mean anything to most people out there. Okay. It just doesn't mean that. And they're very specific. A lot of businesses are out there. Can you do Microsoft Word? Can you do a handful of these basic things? And typically, where you went to school is not going to matter. Okay. By the way, that's why they're going to try you out for a month. Because if you can't do the work, they don't care where you graduated from. It doesn't mean a thing. It doesn't mean a thing. And there's no link between the college that you went to and how much you make for that degree that you have. There's no link whatsoever in those surveys that they've done. Okay, a degree is a degree. Okay, you have a degree in German. Well, can you speak German or can't you? Okay, it's just really that simple kind of thing. And so I had an interview one time. I was asked if I would teach a group of kids a language, particularly Hebrew. And so they gathered around the school. She said, I'd like to talk to you. So we're going to meet at a coffee shop. And she said, would you bring some books? So I brought my books, kind of thing. She said, well, let me see it. So I opened it up. She says, read. Okay. I thought, that's one of the best interviews I've ever seen. Read. Okay, it's the same thing. Can you do it or can't you? Can you do it or can't you? All right, so Joseph brought his father Jacob, presented him to the Pharaoh. Jacob blessed Pharaoh. By the way, Jacob blessed Pharaoh. Hebrews in the New Testament says, without a doubt, the lesser is blessed by the greater. He's blessing the Pharaoh. Melchizedek blessed Abraham. Okay? And Pharaoh, the house, he said to Jacob, how many years have you lived? Jacob said to the Pharaoh, the years of my sojourning are 130. That's a pretty good sized guy. I'm a pretty old guy, isn't it? Few and unpleasant they have been the years of my life, nor have they attained to the lives or years of my fathers that they lived during the days of their sojourning. That's very, very true. Abraham and Isaac, Abraham 175, Isaac 180 years, so he's not going to make it to that. Now you'll notice they've been long years and they've been not very good. They've been bad. They've been harsh. Later on, before he dies, when he's ready to pass from this world, he comments about how good God's been in him, and God has shepherded me, he said, my whole life, the whole time. It dawned on him, God's been in all these things. And just in the New Testament, when Jesus says, I'll never leave you nor forsake you, why would we not believe that? And we don't want to wait until we're old before we get a clue that God is with us. And everything's working together for the good. And trust him in those things, okay? And trust him in those things. Now, he blessed the Pharaoh, went out of his presence, verse 11. So Joseph settled his father and his brothers. He gave them a possession in the land of Egypt, in the best of the land, the lands of Ramesses, as Pharaoh had ordered. This is the land where they went to. Now let me tell you something. Moses put together Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. He wrote those things out, okay? And also we know from Genesis that Genesis is a compilation of at least 12 different texts or books, okay? And so he says this is the book of the generation of, or the book of the offspring of this person or this man, right? And there are 12 of those. With Adam and Eve, it says here, this is the book of the generation or the offspring of heaven and earth. The offspring of heaven and earth is Adam. Okay? He is a heavenly man, he's an earthly man. He got his body from the soil, okay? And he got his spirit from God. He is indeed the offspring of heaven and earth. I don't think we should be offended by the term Mother Earth, because there's a sense of what that works, but nevertheless, we are built for the glory of God, and we are built to live a heavenly life and an earthly life simultaneously, which is what we will do in the resurrection when our Lord returns here, okay? Now, he writes this. When he does this, he updates this to Ramesses, because this is going to be the land of the modern reader at that time. Now, 400 years before this is done, okay, when Joseph is there and Jacob there, Ramesses is called Avaris. It's not called this modern name, okay? It's called Avaris. And today, the city of Avaris is underneath that city of Ramesses, okay? And during that, and in that place, they know where they were slaves, and right in the middle of this old slave town, they find the tomb of what appears to be the tomb of Joseph and the graves of his brothers. Okay? They're all there. All there. And Joseph provided his father and his brothers and all the father's household with food according to their little ones. Okay? He does everything for them. The Hebrew text says literally he was their all in all. They had no needs that were not met. Now there was no food in all the land because the famine was very severe. And there's that word glory again. What does glory mean? Heavy, important, serious, severe. Okay? It was very severe. And the land of Egypt and the land of Canaan languished because of this famine. Joseph gathered all the money that was found in the land of Egypt and the land of Canaan for the grain which was brought. And Joseph brought the money into Pharaoh's household. How much silver did he grab? All of it. So everybody's broke. When the money was all spent in the land of Canaan, in the land of Egypt, the Egyptians came to Joseph and said, "Give us food, for why should we die in the present? Give, for our money is all gone." The word money is just the word silver. In the Bible, silver is money, gold is not. Joseph said, "Give up your livestock." Here go the sheep and the horses and the cows and the donkeys. Okay, and I will give you food for your livestock, since your money is all gone. So they brought their livestock to Joseph, and Joseph gave them food in exchange for their horses and their flocks and their herds and the donkeys. He fed them with food in exchange for all their livestock that year. So they have no money and they have no animals. And when the year was ended, they came to him the next year and said to him, "We will not hide from my lord Adoni. Our money is all spent, and the cattle are my lord's. There's nothing left for my lord except our bodies and our lands. Why should we die before your eyes, both we and our land? Buy us, and our land for food. We and our land will be slaves to the Pharaoh. So give us seed, so we may live and not die, that in the land may not be desolate." So the Pharaoh has all the money, he has all the animals, he has all the dirt, and they are slaves. Every last one of them, except the priest we'll see in a moment. So when Exodus opens up, strangely enough, those who are slaves have enslaved God's people. Isn't that something? God's people are not slaves, they are. Okay? What they do to men. Let me tell you something. In Romans, with God, when a man commits a crime against you, it's not you being defiled, it's him. It's him. He's becoming a slave, and it's controlling him. Okay? So you will notice in Egypt, everybody's a slave. The Pharaoh owns everybody. Right? He's treated like the God there, and he can do anything he wants to do. Now, it's even stranger. Who did this? Joseph did this. Okay? When you get into Leviticus, and he talks about the Canaanites, when you get into the land, he warns them about the Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, the Phleakites, all those guys, and how bad they were, and how perverted they were. And he says the same thing was being done in Egypt. They were just as bad as the Canaanites, okay? And so God was destroying the Egyptians. He went into Canaan, he destroyed all the Canaanites, etc. Because our sin makes us slaves. Okay? So Joseph bought all the land of Egypt. He bought it, paid for it. Okay? For every Egyptian sold his field because the famine was severe. Okay? Now he changes from the word glory, uses the word, it was a strong famine. Terrible. Now I told you last week, by the way, I think that there's a canal in Egypt today that's called Joseph's Canal, and it goes over and feeds a man-made lake. Looks to me like he was storing up water, because in his vision before, the Pharaoh's vision that he interpreted for him, the problem was the Nile. Okay? And the land became all Pharaoh's. And as for the people, he removed them to the cities, from one end of Egypt's border to the other. Now that's quite interesting. Why not move them to the cities? They're not farming. Can't get the idea? And all of a sudden, this, the history of the world is the history of farmers. Okay, very few large cities. Matter of fact, back then you have a few cities that would hit 100, 120,000. That's considered a monster city, not like the millions that we have today. Okay. Only the land of the priests he did not buy, for the priests had their allotment from the Pharaoh. And they lived off that allotment which Pharaoh gave to them. Therefore, they did not sell the land. So you have Pharaoh, who's king and God of everything. You have his priests left in power, and they're taken care of. And you have the Israelites, who are also, they're not slaves either. The Egyptians are the slaves. Because just a couple more chapters, okay, the book of Exodus opens in Hebrew with the word "and." It's a continuation like volume 2. Okay, and all of a sudden, and next thing you know, all the slaves, the Egyptians, have enslaved the Israelites. So the slaves are running the place, as it were. Okay. And it says they forgot all about Pharaoh. Another Pharaoh came up. He didn't know who Joseph was. Okay. And you've heard the expression, if you don't learn from history, you will repeat it. Okay. Well, there's no if. Men don't learn from history. They always repeat it. They always repeat it. Okay. They didn't sell their land. Verse 23. And Joseph said to the people, behold, I have today bought you and your land for Pharaoh. Now, here is seed for you that you may sow the land. So we're going to give you this back. Now watch this. This is the first time in the history of the world you've had taxation. Okay? Now at the harvest you shall give a fifth, 20%, to Pharaoh. 4/5 shall be your own seed in the fields for your food, and those of your household, and as food for your little ones. So we have taxation for the very first time. The Pharaoh in Egypt, everybody pays 20%. Okay? By the time we get to the New Testament, in the Old Testament, by they come out in Exodus, God also creates a tithe. Now they're a theocracy. He's going to run the place, but he creates a 10%. Not a bad tax, right? Okay. Matter of fact, in Malachi, he said that 10%, if you don't pay that, he says, you have robbed me. You're stealing from your theocracy, from your government. Kind of thing. And later on, they said, we want a king. He said, if you do that again, your taxes will double, because he ain't going to be a king for free. And he's going to take the best of your young men, the best of your daughters, the best of your crops, the best of... He ain't going to ride some cheap little nag horse. What's he going to ride? He's going to ride something nice, right? That's how this works. And so they said, okay, we'll have a king anyway, and so it cost them another 10%. Now they're up to 20%. Okay. By the way, they had another offering that they would take every so often for the poor. So they're about 23, 24%. About a quarter here. Okay. Now, 4/5 will be for the seed for the food, so for your food, those of your house, and the food for your little ones, for your little trippers. So they said, you have saved our lives. Nobody's bitter about this. They're just glad to have food on the table, right? Let us find favor in the sight of my Lord, and we will be Pharaoh's slaves. And Joseph, by the way, remember when I told you, you've heard that phrase, if you don't learn from history? Do you know how many people in the United States think that there was no in the history of the world, there's been no slavery until America? You understand how uneducated these men are, and how uneducated these college professors are, and how uneducated the students are, okay? We used to have a statement, a saying that when a young guy, he shows up out of high school, right? A few years before, he's in junior high school. What does he know? Okay, he shows up from high school. Has he ever paid a bill? I mean a real bill, a house payment, no. Okay, who buys his clothes? Okay, is this guy in the real world? No. Okay, he's not in the real world. I used to tell people, you're not in the real world until you're about 25. Okay, you've had some kids, you've been married, and you've paid some bills, right? You've had a dose, you've had a taste, okay, of what this is like, okay? So when you look at the college kids and they're crazy thinking, you join the rest of the crew saying, those guys are nuts. They have no idea, right? And therefore, America's great sin. Well, the sin of the world is slavery. But you'll notice God enslaves men all the time. Okay? And by the way, is all slavery bad? Not according to history. There were slaves who have been offered to be released and said, no, I don't want to go out. I don't want to be released, etc. Life was too good, kind of thing. All right? Let me ask you something. How much does the American president pay to live in the White House? Okay, and if he goes anywhere in the world, 200 men go with him armed to protect him, and the chef goes with him. How much does he pay? Okay, if you're president, do you need any money in your pocket? You don't. Why? Because you're well taken care of. All right. So now let me ask you something. If you're a slave, but you're a gentleman's slave, you had training and things like that, and you're walking around, you drive this guy that you work with and you work for, you drive him around in a Rolls Royce. What do you drive? Oh, all right, so, and you wear a suit because you've got to dress for this businessman everywhere you go. Where he flies, you fly. If he flies to 5 countries, you go with him to five countries. And pretty much you take care of his menu for him. When he dines, you dine. How well do you think you're dining? How much money do you need? It's all expenses paid, is the idea, right? And his big job for the day is usually to pack the suitcase, okay? And those guys, by the way, those professional guys, they have a way to pack suitcases. You can go online and watch them. It's incredible what they do. And they take little steamers to get these things out because they're busy. You can be poor and live a pretty high life and drink champagne and eat caviar right along with those guys. All right, so not everybody in the world who lived it has seen it as a bad thing. When people think of slavery, they think of people with machetes beating on them and that sort of thing. That's what they think. But it hasn't been that way all through time, for sure. Right? Now, you saved our lives. Nobody's bitter about this. We're slaves. We've got food on the table. We've got some houses to live in. We don't own them, but we've got some houses to live in. The thing. And Joseph made a statute concerning the land of Egypt. He made it law, valid to this day. The Pharaoh should have the fifth. Only the land of the priests did not become Pharaoh's. Now, Israel lived in the land of Egypt in Goshen, and they acquired property in it and were fruitful and became very numerous. By the way, that word acquire, it can be anything from literally idling towards they owned it. They owned it debt-free, as it were. I think. So they're sitting pretty well here, and they are being fruitful, which is interesting for Jacob, even as an old man, and his eyes are dimming. But he's seeing this promise of God play out here. And Jacob lived in the land of Egypt for 17 years. So the length of Jacob's life was 147 years. When the time for Israel to die drew near, he called his sons Joseph, and he called him and said to him, "Please, if I have found favor in your sight, place now your hand under my thigh and deal with me in kindness and faithfulness. Please do not bury me in Egypt." There's the oath. I won't want to be buried here. I'm going to do that. Before I go on, however, notice this age. Before the flood, when you had a water canopy around this planet, you didn't get the poison and the cancer-causing rays of the sun that we get today. Okay? So it would have protected you and shadowed you. On the other side of Noah's flood, men lived for a very long time. Okay? After the flood, when they come off Noah's Ark and they come down into this new world, which would have been a muddy mess, kind of thing, they lived long times, but the ages literally start coming right down. And they come down in a hurry. Okay? And so at the end of that tale, that long lives is Abraham and Isaac, and you can see it even going down with Jacob. So during the times of Noah, you got Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Do you remember when Abraham was pleading for Sodom and Gomorrah? Well, out of Shem, Ham, and Japheth, Shem was still living. He was still alive. Okay? So these ages are coming right down, and they will continue to come down. Okay? So in our day, if you're living 70, 80 years, if you're a guy, you hit 80, you're doing pretty well. And the gals outlive their men. And then they moved to Florida. So, yeah. You know, gals are a little brighter than guys are. Women will move to Florida, get an apartment, several of them together, split the cost. Guys don't like to live with other guys. And they just don't. That's why we die. Okay. But he doesn't want to be buried in Egypt, okay? And by the way, that age thing, you know, I was listening to some scientists talk. They said, that genetic code, if we can patch that genetic code, men can live for hundreds of years. I thought, you know, previous generation, they told us all that was a myth. Well, as you go backwards in time, what happens to the gene pool? It's cleaner. And the parts that are missing, because what happens, each generation, the genetic code is this long list of numbers, right? That's how they classify it, right? Well, every generation, numbers drop out. Never do numbers come in, okay? The numbers don't come in. That's the reason at this point in time, even in the Old Testament, there came a day when God says, nobody marries their sisters anymore, okay? Don't do that, okay? And today, if you do that, all of a sudden, your kids start having problems. Okay, it's like interbreeding with dogs, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, you bred a Chihuahua. It's just a little shaking kind of thing. They do. I mean, little ferocious little shakers, that kind of thing. All right, so don't bury me in Egypt. Right? He wants to be buried in his homeland, which is Canaan. When I lie down with my fathers, you will carry me out of the land of Egypt and bury me in their burial places. And he said, I will do as you have said. And he said, swear to me. So he swore to him. By the word, the word for swearing is just the number 7. That's how that word works in those days. Then Israel bowed and worshipped on the head of his bed. Now, there's a discrepancy. Head of the bed, Hebrews 11:21, he worshipped on the head of his staff. Okay? How are we going to fix that? It's very simple. It's the same Hebrew word for both. Okay? Same Hebrew word for both. Okay? Mita, mata. Okay? The vowels are the difference, and there are no vowels in Hebrew. So they're the same for, and I got a feeling that the staff was actually the form of the bed, the head of the bed. So he worshipped at the head, that staff part of the bed. Okay? All it was. Okay? Oh man, I wanted to do chapter 48 because it gets really good in here. He's going to bring Ephraim and Manasseh, Joseph's boys, make them full tribes and adopt them, as it were. Just take them as his own, so they're full tribes. Okay? And as he does that, Ephraim is the firstborn, but Jacob, when he wants to bless him, these 2 boys, he crosses his arms and does this. And he blesses the second one. So in Genesis, never is the firstborn blessed as the firstborn. Okay? Never. Okay? Always it is somebody who's second. So you've got Ishmael and you've got Isaac. Okay? Ishmael is the firstborn, but Isaac is going to come the blessing. You got Esau and Jacob. Esau was the firstborn, but he sold his firstborn, right, to his brother for a bowl of soup. Remember that? I think. Okay. People sell out all the time. They sell out the Lord and all the greatness and magnificence of walking with our Lord for 1,000 things, but a bowl of soup is pretty impressive, kind of thing. And anyway, so it goes on. And this will be the same thing here in the next chapter. Reuben, you will not be my firstborn. You're unstable, like wild water. You're unstable, can't be controlled, okay? Now, I want to notice something also. Jacob has these boys. Not all failure in an adult child can be blamed on parents. These guys are held responsible for their conduct. They can't blame Jacob, right? Now, I don't know if he's a good dad or not a good dad, but they're held responsible for what they become. And no man, when he walks out of his dad's house and starts making a living, etc., can whatever's wrong, fix it. Okay, and what you can't fix, forget it and move on, right? Kind of thing. So remember, everybody's broken all the way back. We're all broken. Okay. So we don't want to do that. We don't want to sit there in a pity party. Pity is a really poor substitute for Jesus, okay, who has come to give us life and give us it more abundantly and to set us free. And remember what I just said a minute ago in Romans. All those people who are harming you, they defiled themselves and harmed themselves is what they've done, kind of thing. And when people are upset with their parenting that they've got, you know, my father and mother homeschool me and I can't read. Well, then go to school and learn how to read. It'll be embarrassing, so what? You'll get over it. Okay, you'll get over it. When I came up to Idaho years ago, we were Texan. My family is from Texas, but we went to California for a little while. I want to put Texas in there so you don't think I'm a Californian. All right, so. By the way, there's nothing like a Californian who's been up here for 5 years going, oh, those Californians won't quit coming up here. Aren't you a Californian? That's different. Yeah, because you're already here. That's why it's different. But anyway, but I did that, and I started school in California. When we came up here, I was supposed to be in the 4th grade, but my education from California was nowhere near where Idaho's education was. Okay, it's gotten worse, as I understand it, since then. Okay, but finally, it was that first year or the second year of elementary school. They took a handful of us. They brought in this special person, and they taught us phonics, reading, basic reading and sounds. And we were in there, and when we came back to class, it was a different day. I can remember we used to go around the classroom reading different things, and I was asked to read, and I was done with the program, and I started reading. And I remember this teacher saying, just keep reading. And she just listened to me read, because I was just blistering through that stuff, because it made sense, kind of thing. So you can learn to read, you know, or you can complain. Okay, Dad didn't teach me a skill. Well, you're right. He should have done something that makes you be to a point where you can earn a living, take care of your family. Okay, he didn't teach you how to be a man. Well, now's the time to learn. Okay, I don't know how to sew or do dishes or cook. Well, get off your backside and learn. Go do it, right? Find some. I remember I'd been married very long, but the home ec teacher that my wife had in high school was like our neighbor. And so she asked her if she would teach her how to bake these certain things. And so they just set up a time, and she was just going over there every day, which is a good thing, by the way, because they're baking stuff and doing that kind of thing. So she brought her over there, told her what to do, and refused to help her do anything. Okay? And a lot of people in this world aren't going to do everything for you, but there are people that will help you. Okay? Not do it for you, but help you. And go learn what you have to learn. And everybody's lives will change. Okay? And it can be a good day. Jesus Christ has promised abundant life, lots of it, and to think you're going to miss it, the only way to miss it is rebel against him, because he can get you exactly where he wants you to be. When I first became a Christian, I was going to a church who didn't know what to do with me, didn't know how to disciple me, didn't have anything, but there was a guy there that did. And he pulled me aside and started to teach me the Word of God. And I was reading it and explaining. And we would sit in his front room, lying down on the carpet with our Bibles open, and we talked for hours and talk about Scripture and theology. And I didn't know anything, so I asked, "Where's that at?" And he would show me where this is at, kind of thing. And then later on, he was the guy who said, "How'd you like to go to San Francisco for a while?" And he sponsored me and paid for me to go do an internship in San Francisco at a Bible-believing church down there. Okay, and later on, when I was in college, he helped me pay my bills. I did those kind of things. And then when I was in seminary over in Boise, he owns this drive-in, so he would pay me to go and give me twice what it was worth. So I figured out what a fair wage is and double it. And I knew what he was doing, and I would work all night long cleaning that place. Okay, and going to school, and it was seminary, so I was learning my Bibles and Greek and Hebrew and all that kind of stuff. And I remember one morning he showed up, which was strange because he didn't ever do that. He said, "Come on, we're going to breakfast, or we're going to lunch, or I forget what it was." Anyway, so he took me down to the church, was having some breakfast or a potluck or whatever it was, and I met my wife. All right, and just life goes on and on and on. Not because you have money, because I didn't have any money. Not because you have connections. I didn't have any connections in those things. But God is good, and he's promised never to leave you or forsake you, okay? And if you need to make a living, God knows that. Matter of fact, he's the one who said, if you don't work, you don't eat. So I need to have you in a position so you can do this, okay? And you need to not be working for minimum wage. You cannot pay your bills on minimum wage. You're a man. You're going to have a family. You need to do this, okay? And frankly, if you're hiring guys that are family men and you can't afford to pay them a fair wage, you need to fire them. Make them go do something. They say, "I can't afford you what you need to live on," and there are jobs out there that don't. And so you need to get some training or whatever it is. And if nothing else, you can go down in about 3 months, be driving a big rig truck. Okay? That's about how long it'll take you. These are short things. Okay? In construction, there are lots of openings, and that men will train you, okay, and do those type of things. So just because you don't know, okay, well, tell the Lord, "I don't know what to do. Tell me what to do. Send somebody to tell me what to do. I don't know how to do this," kind of thing. But God has been good. He's always going to be good to you and to me. History is going to repeat itself, okay? If you complain about the governments, you'll just be complaining about the government till the day you die, kind of thing. New crop of senators. Oh, great. Oh, great. Because they just repeat. Same guys and gals. They all know what to do. Father, thank you for our time this evening. We worship you. Thank you for your word. Thank you for your people as we watch. Your people are anything but perfect. But you raise up men like Joseph. You take Jacob, give him a new name, Israel, and you call him both of those things because he's not always living up to snuff. And his sons were difficult men, but you're going to use them. You raised up a great nation and brought them out of Egypt. You'll do so again one day when a nation is born again and comes back to their land in belief, not unbelief. And you'll watch over your people. Thank you for the church, and thank you for Whitestone. We love and praise you. In your name we pray. Amen.